How's it going, everybody? It's Pilot Flame, and we are back with another patch note rundown. Make sure to check out the League of Legends patch notes that I also will be putting up on the channel, as well as this one. I typically do them both at the same time, now that I play TFT as well as many other Riot games. Haven't tried Valorant yet, but I am very interested in and very much involved in Legends of Runeterra, so be able to sure check out more content on that. But today, we're going to be looking at TFT patch notes. We're looking at 10.12, a lot of different changes coming in here. So basically the TFT patch started off great initially when the launch happened for the galaxies. Then they kind of nerfed all the 5 stars, and they kind of just slowly kind of hit everything down, and basically it just became just get a bunch of 1-star units and just get them 3-star, and then you probably kick out most of the people in the game. And then obviously with the added galaxies that they added, it kind of messed up the balance a bit. So hopefully they're addressing all of the problem issues in this. I've seen it briefly, but I haven't really been able to focus on it like I am now. So let's take a look without further ado. We'll keep the intro short and sweet because there's a lot to cover in this patch. Okay, there will be a soft ranked reset and a new Galaxies 2 Pass and Pass Plus. Fantastic. I saw that they did change something to the Galaxy Pass and Pass Plus to where you can get more stuff, I guess, now than we did before. So let's see what they changed. So they introduced Astro, Battlecast, Paragon, Bard, Cassiopeia, Gnar, Illaoi, Janna, Kog'Maw, Nautilus, Nocturne, Riven, Teemo, Urgot, Vayne, Victor, and Zed. So I think champions that haven't been in the TFT ever before was Bard, Cassiopeia, Illaoi, Riven, Teemo, and Urgot, I want to say. I'm not sure about Urgot, but the rest of them definitely so. New little legends, let's see what they look like. Obviously very cool. Probably my favorite one is probably this one. I typically favor the more bluey, purpley colors. It's only got one tooth, which makes it look a bit derpy, but it's quite funny. New Galaxy 2 Pass and Pass Plus. So they will now begin. They'll start once you update, and in the next 24 hours, get new emotes, new arenas, and all that sort of stuff. You don't have to purchase the Pass Plus right away, which is always nice. I believe they did that before. So basically, if you get so many XP points, so let's say if I complete levels 1 through 5, and the pass gives you levels 3 and 5, if you then buy the pass, you still get levels 3 and 5 after the fact as well. Secondly, you don't have to buy it until the end of the thing, just before the pass runs out, basically. Okay, so what do the new traits do? So we have Astro, Battlecast, and Paragon. So Astro champions, if you have 3 Astro champions, it reduces their mana cost by 30. Okay, so this can be combined with a bunch of different things. We're looking at the likes of sorcerers can be quite useful with it, because sorcerers will boost their abilities, and then when they use the Astros use their abilities, it reduces the Astros mana cost, which is quite good. We also have the Star Guardians as well, where they obviously they reduce their own mana cost by giving each other mana, so that's also quite an interesting tandem. So probably some things there that we can see. Battlecast, so 2, 4, 6, 8, so it scales up in 2s. Battlecast champions, upon dealing or taking 10 instances of damage, heal for 71, 63, 25, 600 if below half health, or deal 71, 60, 325, 600 magic damage if the nearest enemy is above half health. Okay, so they deal more damage if the enemy has more health. If they have less health, then they heal themselves, which is can be used both offensively and defensively, but it is obviously RNG based, so we'll have to see kind of how that plays out. I think it can be really strong. And then Paragon, ally, Star Guardian, basic attacks are now converted to true damage. Okay, so specifically towards Star Guardians, and all other ally based attacks are converted to magic damage. That's very interesting. So you can basically, this can be something whereas you can kind of change up your composition if a lot of people are typically are running like defense against armor. Basically, you can use this and basically stop them from being able to basically defend against your damage by being able to put this Paragon unit in and out, which is quite interesting. Obviously, if you have Star Guardians, you'll just put it in because it makes true damage. Obviously, can't be mitigated except by health. So let's see what the new champions do. We got a lot of them here. So Nautilus. Nautilus is an Astro Vanguard. Okay, he's a tier 2. Impact Crater. Nautilus erupts the ground beneath them, knocking them up for 3.54 seconds and dealing 100, 200, 400 magic damage. Enemies adjacent to the target receive half of this effect. Okay, so Nautilus is tier 2 unit. Very strong, in my opinion, because something with crowd control that stuns for that duration is always very useful. He can be easily 2-starred because he's a 2-star tier 2 unit. Could potentially be 3-starred, and it would just be constant, you know, doing all kinds of crazy things here. I think you could still make people a Star Guardian, so Nautilus could, you know, if you get a spatula item, be made a Star Guardian, and he's just ulting everyone, and then it's just kind of the most obnoxious thing ever. So I think Nautilus could be quite good. Bard, Astro / Mystic. He's a tier 3 unit. Passive, Bard gains an additional 8, 20, 90 mana each attack, but cannot gain mana against non-champions. Okay. So he can only gain mana when he's fighting against just champions itself. So against, I guess, ZZ Rock portals and other minion rounds, he can't gain mana. And then Traveler's Call. Bard spawns a meep on his owner's bench, which can be sold for 1 experience. Okay, so I'm curious to know what happens if your bench is full. Does it automatically get sold? Could be quite interesting there. I want to know what what Bard's mana pool is, because Bard giving you XP can be quite strong. He is a tier 3 unit though, so I'd be pretty scared of him if he was a tier 2. We'll have to kind of see how this plays out, but he has potential there. He has potential. Gnar, Astro Brawler. Okay, so another Brawler, so it's not just 4. Tier 4 unit, okay. So 4-cost unit. Gnar leaps forward, transforming into Mega Gnar, throwing nearby enemies and stunning against the wall. While in Mega Gnar form, Gnar is melee, and he gains 750, 1250, and 2500 health, and some attack damage. So, Gnar just seems to be a standard tier 4 unit with some CC. He's kind of like a tankier version, or around the same as Cho'Gath. It'll be interesting to see, because Cho'Gath's AoE is quite big, but Cho'Gath's mana pool takes a while to fill up. I'll kind of compare him to Cho'Gath for now, but I'll have to kind of see how he plays out. But there is potential there for him. He is a Brawler, so he is quite good, and can go into Brawler-esque comps, and can be used to protect like Jinx and stuff, and into like the former Void Exodia, or what we know as Brawler Blasters now. So it could be quite interesting. Teemo, Astro Sniper. Okay, very interesting combo. He's a tier 4 unit, and he gets satellite traps. So Teemo scatters 3 traps around the nearest enemy. When an enemy nears a trap, after 3 seconds, it explodes on nearby enemies, dealing 125, 175, 600 magic damage, knocking them down and slowing them for 4 seconds. Okay, I don't know what knocking them down means, but that's quite interesting. So it seems like he's going to be a bit more annoying. I'm curious to know what his range actually is. So this adds a bit of diversity to the sniper comp. So it allows you to kind of mix up your damage a little bit, leaves a little bit more annoyance in them, rather than just, hey, look, give all the items to Jin, and he's just going to sit there and just shoot people just over and over and over again. So you can potentially put like a Nautilus, a Teemo, and one other Astro potentially in there, and then have them basically kind of be a front line, the Nautilus specifically, and kind of have like the Jin Guard style of composition that we've already seen before. So interesting. I think Teemo could be quite good. Elawi, Battlecast Brawler. Okay, so now we're going into the Battlecast ones. I think Battlecast kind of reminds me more of like the Predator theme, although it doesn't do the same thing, but it kind of reminds me of that. Tier 1, Tentacle Smash. Elawi slams tentacle in front of her, dealing 125, 200, 325 damage, and stealing 20, 30, 50% of armor and magic resistance for each target hit for 4 seconds. That is quite big. Now, as a tier 1 unit, this could be quite scary, because this is something that you're probably not going to replace in a composition. However, it is a Brawler, so you definitely have some options there. I think that's now 6 Brawlers, so it could be quite interesting to see how kind of Elawi plays out. I think this is anything that steals armor and MR in an AoE is always a scary thing. So, and since it steals both, it can be quite strong. So I think this could be a very good unit just throughout the entire game, even if it is just a tier 1 unit. Nocturne, Unspeakable Horror. Nocturne terrifies his target, causing them to be stunned. Okay, so it's his E from League of Legends, dealing some damage over the duration. Now, so that they're just stunned. It's not like a normal fear. He's also an Infiltrator, so this is a very early game unit. I think he's probably going to be better depending on his mana pool than Kha'Zix, and potentially could be used as kind of a place, like a 1-2 combo potentially with Kog'Maw or something like they used to be before with Predator, obviously with the different trait here. So I think Nocturne can be quite good. Kog'Maw, Battlecast, Blaster. Okay, so adding Blaster. He could have potentially been a sniper as well, but let's see. Tier 2 unit. For 3 seconds, Kog'Maw gains infinite attack range, 80% attack speed, and his auto attacks deal 247% of targets max out. So this is his W. I think this could be quite good, because this could be something whereas you can have a high reroll comp for Kog'Maw and basically abuse him with potentially a replacement for Ezreal or Lucian if you don't want to go into the Cybernetic or the Chrono route. Obviously Chronos benefit Kog'Maw quite nicely. Yeah, Kog'Maw could be a very, very, very strong unit at a tier 2 unit. So he's going to have more base units than normal, than like a tier 1 unit as an example. He's definitely going to have something to where it's unique. He has infinite attack range. He can literally hit you from anywhere, so he's just going to stand still, which does make him obviously vulnerable to AoE placements and that sort of thing. But he does maximum health damage, his magic damage, so it's something that kind of mixes it up, so he's not just doing physical. So that'll be something interesting to see as well. So I think overall Kog'Maw could be quite strong. Cassiopeia, Battlecast, Mystic. Okay, so the Mystic archetype. Launches her fangs in the nearest unpoisoned enemy, causing them to take 700, 1500, 3000 damage over 12 seconds. Okay, so and reducing the effectiveness of shields. Okay, so it's basically like her E and her Q combined. That's a lot of damage, but it is over a long period of time for a tier 3 unit. I'll kind of have to see how that kind of plays out, but those numbers look pretty large for a dot effect, and dot effects are always a bit interesting, but that's kind of a wait and see on that one. Victor burns a path between 2 enemies, dealing 15, 20, 80% max health damage, then 1 second later dealing 250, 400, 1500 in explosion along the same path. Okay, so Victor's gonna do a crazy amount of damage, and he is a sorcerer, so this could be something that can be quite scary, considering he does max health damage. And with the sorcerer, that only gets amplified with the likes of Death Cap, with the likes of the sorcerer passive. So yeah, I think Victor could be a very strong unit. Urgot, Battle Task Protector. Okay, he's a tier 5 unit, and he basically launches his drill to the farthest enemy in his attack range, reeling them in and dealing 2000 true damage repeatedly until they reach him and die. After the first successful cast, Urgot's mana cost is reduced by 10, 20, 100. I assume 100 is his base. So basically, he's just like, if he gets off his ult, he's just going to be ridiculous. Yeah, I think Urgot's going to be ridiculous. So moving swiftly on. We got Janna here. Star Guardian Paragon. Okay, so the first Paragon that we've seen. Tier 5 unit as well. Howling Gale. Janna summons 5 tornadoes which fly forward in a large cone. Tornadoes grant allies, they pass through a crazy amount of attack speed for 5 seconds while knocking up and stunning enemies. So this could be very good depending on how you position Janna as well. So comps that want to clump up, this will be a very good disruptor for it. I think Janna is obviously very strong, and as a 5-star unit should be so. Riven, Chrono and Blade Master. Interesting combination here. Tier 4 unit. So potentially a replacement for Aurelion. Riven dashes and shields herself for 250, 400, 1000, and slashes forward, dealing 100, 150, 450 magic damage. And every third cast, Riven leaps into the air and launches a wave of energy that deals 300, 500, 1500 magic damage. So yeah, she's basically like a ramping version of Aurelia. And she has Chrono instead of Mana Reaver. It's kind of tough to say. I think Aurelia might be slightly better than Riven, but we'll have to see. Vayne, Cybernetic Sniper. Okay, so they introduced the Cybernetic, so now you don't have to basically get stuck on not having Echo and losing the game, like I have many games because I favorite Cybernetics quite a lot. So Vayne focuses for 10 seconds, tumbling away from her target immediately, and every third attack thereafter. Vayne is invisible while tumbling, and attacks after tumbling deal 175, 200, 225% of her attack damage. So Vayne going stealth means that targeting becomes a problem for enemy units. I think Vayne can be quite strong, and she can be also paired with snipers as well, which makes things even stronger because you can potentially have a package of something like 6 cybernetics and 2 snipers, and potentially some chrono thrown in there, and then you're looking at a very scary composition there. So I think Vayne could be very, very strong just because she has stealth in her kit. And then last but not least, we have Zed. Rebel/Infiltrator tier Q unit. Every third basic attack, Zed steals 20, 25, 40% of the target's AD and deals bonus magic damage to them. Overall, probably just an average unit, I think. It is a Rebel, so just like not getting stuck on like Aurelion Sol or Jinx, you can throw Zed in there. Obviously, they have more options than Cybernetics do, but overall, probably just an average unit. Most of the Rebel units are kind of meh unless you combine them all together in a certain composition. So, moving on, we have removed traits. So Void and Valkyrie no longer exist, so they had a very hard time probably balancing around Valkyries, so I can see why they removed it. Void was kind of meh, except for the squid composition, but overall I'm glad to see Valkyries is one of the things that they removed. Champions that they removed, Kha'Zix, he was awful. Cho'Gath, okay, so that's Kha'Zix is he was an Infiltrator and Void. Okay, so basically all the Void champions were gone. So what did they remove? They removed an Infiltrator, they removed a Brawler, and they removed the Sorcerer. And they replaced the Sorcerer with Victor. They replaced the Brawler with 2 Brawlers, which was, I believe it was Nautilus, where's it to? Illaoi and Gnar, sorry. And then they replaced the... who was the last one? The Sorcerer I said was Victor, and then Kha'Zix was the Infiltrator. They placed him at Nocturne. So overall, they kind of even out there. They also removed Kaisa, who was in Infiltrator and Valkyrie. They removed Kael, who was a Valkyrie and a Blade Master. They replaced Riven, obviously, with the Blade Master side. Misfortune they removed, who was a Blaster, so they replaced her kind of with... I mean, it's not an exact replacement because it's a tier 2 unit in Kog'Maw, but he can be quite scary. I guess they didn't want to have a really strong blaster unit, so your strongest blaster unit is Jinx in a sense, but I guess Kog'Maw, even being tier 2 with infinite attack range and being able to attack very fast, can be quite scary. Sona, they just removed, I guess, because she was impossible to balance. She was either ridiculous or useless. Lux, they removed as well. And Kassadin last but not least. So now you can't really go Kassadin Aurelia in the mid game with a mid to late game for Mana Reaver. You have to go specifically Darius or Thresh. I believe there's the only 3 champions now that have Mana Reaver, so that's quite interesting. And then the Lilac Galaxy was the one where you start off with a 4-cost unit, I believe. So yeah, good to see that was out. So ranked will begin with this patch. Soft reset down 1 tier. For example, you're currently gold 2, you'll now be in silver 2. Okay, if you're very good at this game and currently placing master above, you'll be reset to diamond 4. Fantastic. You got 5 provisional matches after the reset, meaning you will not lose any LP from sub top 4 placements in your first 5 rank games. Okay, if you place gold or higher in Galaxy Stage 1, you receive rank appropriate emote. Fantastic. And victorious Little Legend ranked rewards from the launch and the rise of elements will be riding in soon if you place gold or higher in the sets. Okay, cool. So now what do they have for the Galaxy? So we have Little Legends, so this is when you have less health. Nicoverse, Medium Legends, Super Dense Galaxy, Trade Sectors, Treasure Trove, Star Cluster, Galaxy Armory. So 80% of games you're going to have a Galaxy, and 20% of games it'll be normal. So basically most games you'll have a Galaxy. Is that good? Yes, because you have to kind of play around it. Is it bad in some cases? Yes, also because it's sometimes where if certain compositions are very, very strong and you get the galaxies that favor them, there will be basically no stopping them. If you don't get the galaxies that are, you know, that are very good for them, then they'll probably still be fine if they're overtuned, but we'll have to kind of see how that plays out. Number of tier 3 champions in a pool, 18. So now a tier 3 champion can be 3-starred by 2 people, which is quite good. 1-star and tier 1 champions sell back for their full gold. So, okay, so example, 2-star tier 3 champion now sells for sell value for 8. 3-star tier 1 champion now sells for, okay, so they sell for the full value. Okay, interesting. Oh, 1 less gold than the value for tier 2, tier 3 and others. Okay, that makes more sense. So you basically get more gold when you just swap things in and out. So now people are more likely chance of being able to be denied of things if certain things are being contested. Because the resale, you only lose 1 gold in you know, worst. Level 4 drop chances by champion tier. 60, 30, 10, 0, 0. Now 55, 30, 15, 0, 0. So more likely to get a 3-star, a tier 3 unit rather. And then level 9 drop chance, they increased the chance to get a tier 3 unit and decreased chance to get a tier 4 unit to make it even. Kane will no longer drop a special item if you have 0 of that trait on the board. Okay. And Nico's help will now always work. I love this change. I think it's great because it still makes it so that if you do get your Nico verses and you use them, you can always use them in a way that helps affect you, and you can't just be blocked off by people just by stealing items because they happen to get to that level faster than you did. Moving on here, we're down to the traits. So what did they change? They changed a whole lot. Okay, so we still got balance chains and stuff like that too. All right, so traits. Blade Master, they increased the chance by 15% at the I believe that's 6. So you don't really see 6 Blade Masters too much, but it is a decent buff. Brawlers, they slightly nerfed for Brawler. Makes sense because they obviously don't want Nautilus to be super tanky, as an example. I believe he was Gnar. They don't want Gnar to be like super tanky and stuff like that. Celestial 6 is now attainable via Celestial Orb. Celestial 4 is gold, and Celestial 6 is now chromatic. Okay, so that's just some visual things there. Celestial Healing from damage. So they made it the same at rank 1, 5% higher at rank 2, and that's 2, 4, 6, and then 6 is a crazy amount of percentage. Okay. At a Chrono 8, so it's 0.75 seconds you gain the attack speed buff. I still think Chrono is quite bad, but whatever. Cybernetic, they changed from 350 and 35 and 770 to 350 and 40, slightly more AD early on. Less health later on, but more attack damage. So they're making it more of a damage-oriented composition rather than just, hey, look, everyone lives and they deal a crazy amount of damage. Dark Star breakpoints 369 to 2468. Interesting. So they're changing it so that Dark Star bonus attack, damage, and ability power 20 to 30 is now 8, 16, 24, 32. So now you get 6 less at your rank 3, which is the one that you wanted before. However, you get the Dark Stars at slightly different breakpoints, but you don't even get the thing that you had at 3 now at 4, so which is quite bad. They kind of nerfed them down a little bit. Dark Stars now get the damage whenever an ally dies rather than just Dark Star dies, so that's kind of the compensation for it. Maybe a slight over nerf there. We'll kind of have to see. I think it might be a bit too much taken off the top. I know Dark Stars are quite good, but it seems like a bit too much for me. Infiltrator, so they nerfed by 10%. I don't think that's... And they nerfed 5% off the... Is it a 246 now? I think it's a 246. Was it always 2? I think it was always 246. Maybe they know something I don't know, but I don't remember Infiltrators being all that good. Maybe they know something I don't know, but we'll have to kind of see on that. I don't think that's really warranted, but we'll have to kind of see. Mystic magic resistance. So they buffed it very early on and later as well. Obviously, there's a lot of magic damage coming in, so they need the Mystics to be quite good. I think this is still going to be splashed into a lot of different compositions to just help them protect against it. And then the Protector shield amounts was buffed by a decent bit at all ranks, so quite good there. So they're briefing up the defense because they feel like a lot of damage is coming in here, which from what we can tell is quite prevalent. So 2 snipers is now 10% bonus per hex, makes sense. And added Sniper 4, which is now 18% bonus per hex. Okay, they removed Sorcerer 8, fair enough. And then Sorcerer bonus spell power is 20, 40, 75, now 20, 45, 75. Okay, so they just buffed the Sorcerer 2, which is 4 units. Star Guardian mana distribution 2050, now 2540. It's a bit of a weird value that they have, because basically when you have 6 units, 6 divided by 40 doesn't really go too cleanly, and neither does 3 by 25. So it's not great. I guess they just don't want mana batteries. Star Guardian now gives the correct amount of mana of cast after the first one. This results in a buff for the trait. Okay, so they're saying it's a buff. On paper, it doesn't look like it, but so we'll have to see. Added Star Guardian 9 is 55 mana as well. Vanguard armor is the same, except for later it gains 50, which is fine. And then Vanguard 6, you just gain 1,000 armor. You're just invincible against physical damage. That's quite funny. Okay, so Mech Pilot adjustments. Okay, so they pilots eject health is now 35%. Okay, so they're very injured when they come out. The mech's health is I'm not sure if that's a buff or not. So you're getting 700 more base. I think it's better earlier on, but way worse later, which I think is the right direction. And then same for the attack damage. Mind you, I think the mech, I guess when you hit this power spike, you want the mech to be really strong initially and then taper off later, so that makes sense. Attacks a little bit faster. Has less AD percentage overall, but I think that's regained back and then some in the flat. Its total mana is lower, so it's going to ult more. Has higher way higher armor, and way higher magic resist. Okay, and then the damage that it does is a lot higher earlier on, and the splash damage that it does is a lot more as well. So, at least earlier on. So basically they want to, from the looks of it, they want the mech to be, once you get the mech power spike online, they want you to be able to just crush with it and be able to win out, because you're going to lose to the likes of 6 unit comps like the Dark Star, the Rebel, the Cybernetics later on in the game. So that's quite interesting to see. Champion balance. Okay, so they're changing Annie's health, they're upping it slightly, and they're making her mana cost lower, which is obviously good. Helps the Mech Pilots out too a little bit for the nerf that they receive overall for the later stages. She now does double her damage, which is quite good. The shield is also quite nice, so Annie's now actually a very useful unit from the looks of it. Ash's mana, so they buffed Ash's mana quite a lot, which is very, very nice, because I think Ash as a unit is very unique in its own right, being able to potentially stun multiple people depending on positioning. So it's quite nice, but they lowered the damage on the arrow, rightfully so, because she's going to be arrowing more. And then Ash missile speed increased by 50%. I'm not sure if that means the arrow or attacks, but we'll kind of have to see on that front. Ezreal now has 50 out of 80 mana. His attack speed is slightly higher, but the damage is way less, so he's more a utility bot. Makes sense. Jace health increased by 100. Okay, fair enough. Nico Pop Blossom now does less damage. It is an AoE ability, so that is a big nerf for Nico. Because it's 50 across however many units it could possibly hit. At all ranks by the looks of it, except for the mid-range one, which is only 25. And then Rumble's health increased slightly, and Rumble's mana was buffed as well, and his Flame Spitter damage does more. So they want the pilots and the Mech Pilots to do more when it touches down, but less obviously later, like we mentioned before. Shaco's receiving his slight buffs back up, more attack damage, and his Deceive damage is now up because they nerfed away Darkstar kind of functions. Syndra's mana is being reverted back to what it was before, and they're making the Unleash Power damage just do less at a 2-star and 3-star rank. Syndra will now pick up additional targets if she deals more than enough damage to kill a target. Okay, that's quite interesting. They're buffing Fizz as well, and health, attack speed, and his mana as well. The Chum the Waters damage now does slightly more as well. Jin's being nerfed. His attack damage is down by 10. Base attack speed is now down, or it scales, so you don't get his same attack speed that you had before until tier 2, and then he gets more at tier 3, which is actually quite good. Jinx's rocket damage is up slightly early and mid, and Jinx no longer fires rockets with extra shots from her blaster trait. Okay, so that could be, I don't know if that was intended or not, but we have to see on that. Aurelion Sol, he now starts with just max mana. His attack speed is way lower. I don't know if his attack speed actually does anything, but damage per fighter is slightly lowered. Now drains mana from their targets, and the first cast launches 4 fighters, subsequent cast launch 2 additional. Okay. Note together, he'll be dealing more damage the first 10 seconds of fight, then fall behind from there in relative patch. So that's kind of what you want Aurelion Sol to kind of do. You want him to be able to deal some damage right off the bat, not just kind of be there as an example. He is a 5-star unit after all. He should do a lot of damage. Echo's starting mana is way more earlier on. His Chrono Break does way less damage, but it is obviously there for the CC mainly. Chrono Break targeting hits every enemy once, and he hits 5, 7, 20 times. Okay, so he's probably going to end up doing more damage overall. You know, so basically when he comes down, he's only going to hit 5 units, so it's way less. But if you ever get him, if he's 2-starred, he's going to probably deal... no, I think that's just more... That's just a nerf overall, I think. And then new slows attack speed of enemies hit by 50% for 7... Okay, well, there's the CC aspect there. So now he not only stuns people, he slows their attack speed after the fact as well. So he's more of a CC bot rather than, oh, he's going to deal crazy amounts of damage. And then Gangplank reduces size of increased Gangplank radius from his larger upgrade. And his total starting mana is down by 30, but his base is down, so it takes him longer to get to his ult. And since GP just came back in the meta, them nerfing him again is could be quite problematic. GP as a unit isn't very flexible. He's basically there just to get his ult off, and that's it. You either give him all the items or you give him nothing, and then he's just there as a distraction. So not sure I like that change, but we'll kind of have to see how that plays out. Tank changes. We're giving some of the tankier champions more base to make them stand out a bit. Okay, so they're buffing all the melee tanky oriented champions with armor and MR, which is good to see. It's a long list of changes, and obviously the higher the tier of the unit, the more they get, which makes sense. Okay, so I'm just gonna run down the actually, let's do the items. Okay, so a Bloodthirster's lifesteal is up by 5%. Probably not too noticeable, but it's going to be quite good. Chalice of Power has been renamed and redesigned. Its new name is Chalice of Power. Chalice of Power is tier plus cloak like before. At the start of combat, the holder to the left and right of its neighbors gain 30 AP for 20 seconds. Okay, so you basically want Syndra to have this. And you want basically 2 mages to her left and right, basically. Deathblade, slightly lower per stack. Probably not too noticeable, but it is AD, so it can be, depending on what champion it is, can affect it quite a lot. Like Bane, as an example, would be a champion it would affect. Battlecast plating replaces Demolition Charge, so you can now make something a Battlecast rather than a Demolitionist. Makes sense. Giant Slayer. Effect change to deals 20% bonus true damage if enemy's health is over 1750. Deals 80% true damage instead. Giant Slayer. Okay, they're just making it broken again. Alright, fine. You just build Giant Slayer on every AD champion, that attacks from long range. Makes sense. Hextech Gunblade, 25% healing from all damage down, 34% healing from spell damage. Okay, so you're just never going to build Gunblade. Infinity Edge, 100% critical strike damage to 100% critical strike chance, and 20% strike damage. It is now unique, so you can't stack IEs. Okay, I think I like this better. I think this is much better overall. Dual Gauntlet holders can spells can crit, holder spells can crit, and holder gains 20% critical strike damage. It's very good. I like that change. Luden's Echo, star scaling remove, now deals just flat damage. Okay, so it's a very good earlier on item, but worse later on in the game. Rapid Fire now increases 200 range, and the holder's attacks can't miss, which is quite good. They made red buff now burns over 10 seconds, and they've changed that to 10% burn over 4 seconds. So I'm trying to think if that's an actual nerf overall. So 10% over 4 seconds. So if we extrapolate 5% every 2 seconds, then it would be 15 at 6%, 20 at 8, 15 at 6 seconds, 20 at 8 seconds, 25 at 10 seconds. Okay, so it is the same. It just needs to be reapplied a lot more often. But if it is reapplied more often, the longer the fight goes on, the more and more damage you're losing, basically. Blue buff replaces Seraph's Embrace, okay. And blue buff, after casting a spell, set your mana to 20, unique. Okay, interesting. So basically, I guess you don't want people just instantly hitting their top mana pool. They just basically, their mana goes down to, you just get 20 mana, I guess. So I guess they just don't want the mana pool just bouncing up and down all over the place, I guess. Kind of have to see how that plays. That's a bit of a wonky one. Warmog's 5% missing health, regen, plus 600 health. Side now grants exactly 1,000 health and nothing else. Okay. It's pretty boring, to be honest. And then a bunch of bug fixes. Okay, so let's do a quick overall thing. We'll start. I think the little legends look awesome, obviously. In terms of the new stuff, we'll use this image. I think Astros are very good. I think Battlecasts have very high potential. I think Janna is very unique in the fact that she can warp a composition. I think Bard can potentially be good. I think Cassiopeia can be potentially good. I think Gnar is very strong. I think Alawi is a very good, very strong unit. Kog'Maw can be a carry of a composition. Nautilus is very good for his CC. I think Nocturne is kind of meh. I think Riven is just a worse Aurelia. I think Teemo could be very good. I think Urgot is broken. I think Vayne is broken. I think Victor is very strong. And I think Zed is just a whatever rebel unit. In terms of the actual traits and stuff like that. So 6 Blade Master doesn't really change too much. It'll be slightly better chances, but again, it's RNG anyway. Brawlers are just generally good. They're not going to go away. Celestials are pretty standard. Chronos still sucks. Cybernetic is a lot better now that you have Vayne. Darkstar I think is a lot worse, but I think Shaco is better. I think with the item changes, Shaco's also better. As well as Jhin, even though Jhin got nerfed slightly. I think snipers are still really good. I think defensive compositions are going to find it much easier to mitigate some of this damage. And it all basically stems around how strong Janna actually is. Sorcerers, it's whatever. Star Guardians, I think, they've been nerfed too much and kind of chopped and changed, and they kind of really don't have a grasp on things. I think you it's like you want 3 or 6. You never want obviously anything in between. So you either have to go fully, and if the full 6 Star Guardian comp doesn't work, then it's just going to be useless. If the full Star Guardian comp does work, then it's going to be really strong. And like I said, defensives for like Vanguard are quite good, and I just think it's funny that you could just get the billion armor. As for the Mech Pilots are going to be very strong when they come down. Once you kill the mech, it's going to be much weaker. So the mech is basically the focus. The champions are also decent when leveling up as well, because you have buffs to Annie, Fizz, and Rumble. But they want to make it so that it tapers off way later on, so it's easier to kill. It'll be easier to kill the mech, or it'll be easier to kill basically the mech and the Mech Pilots combined later on in the game. In terms of the buffs, Ashe and Ezreal and Nico are more CC oriented rather than damage oriented, which is fine because they're AoE or can be AoE in some cases. Shaco's partial damage going up with the item change. I think he'll be just fine. Syndra, like I said, Stargun is a bit weird. I like that if she gets a takedown, basically the orbs will go on to the next person, which is quite nice. The Jhin changes I don't think will affect them too much. And Jinx, I'm not sure if this was a bug fix or if this is something that's actually going to affect her, overall. Because Jinx no longer fires rockets with extra shots from her blaster trait, so it basically hinders her damage. If that was the case, if it's a bug fix. Aurelion Sol, I like the change. I wanted to be impactful right at the start, which makes sense. Echo, they're orienting more of a CC bot. Gangplank, I don't like the change because Gangplank is more there for his AoE. He want to be able to give him all the items and basically he does the damage. If he's not able to basically do that, then he shouldn't be a 5-star unit, because 5-star units are either there for crazy amounts of CC or crazy amounts of damage, and you kind of have to pick one. Whereas MF, as an example, which is the reason they removed her, is because they couldn't balance her. She did too much damage too quickly, and item scale with her, too well, and she had a trait which basically makes it the second you got to anywhere close to half HP, you just got erased. So that's why they removed her. Whereas GP is kind of different in his own right. And now with they removed the demolition as charge, so you have to basically pair GP with Ziggs specifically, so in a rebel comp, or you have to pair him with Rumble and a Mech Pilot in order to get him to get the demolition. So basically, and he has Space Pirate, which is not very good either. The tank changes I agree with, and I like. The champions that are in melee should be able to take more heat than the ranged champions. And then the item changes. Bloodthirster's fine. I like the new Chalice of Power. I think Chalice of Harmony was ridiculously overpowered. Death's Blade, the nerf is warranted. Making things a Battlecast is going to be fun. Giant Slayer is going to be immediately nerfed. It looks too good already. Hextech Gunblade is useless. Infinity Edge, like the change. Jewel Gauntlet, like the change. Luden's Echo, didn't really build it anyway, but it is a better early game item. Rapid Fire, really like the change. It seems a bit strong. Red Buff, can appreciate the change, but it could affect some units more than others. But you need to be basically reapplying, and the longer the fight goes, which is what the burn effect is kind of what you want. This may be seen on things that just want a little bit extra damage. So shorter fights is going to benefit, longer fights not so much. We'll have to see. Blue buff, kind of have to see how it plays out, but from the sounds of it, it is a nerf, so I would like I like the change. Warmogs I think is quite boring, and then the bug fixes are standard. So that's going to do it for the 10.12 patch notes. Like I said, make sure to check out the other video that we did for the League of Legends 10.12 patch notes. That'll be on YouTube, so links and all that stuff are down in the socials in the description. It's PilotFlame226 everywhere on Twitter and YouTube, as well as here on Twitch, so make sure to leave us a follow so we can get more followers. Then we can start getting some subs in here, we can start having some talks, we can be more interactive, and yeah, like I said, to go leave a like over on the videos on YouTube. Make sure to give a subscribe over there as well, and follow us on Twitter, as well as put the notification bells on for the YouTube videos so that you can see when the latest videos come out. And yeah, just make sure to check out all the content, because we're going to be putting it up more than what we have been from before. I had an extended break. If you want to see the details on that, go check out the update video that I had on YouTube, which I posted earlier today. So that's going to do it. I'm Pilot Flame, and this has been the 10.12 patch notes. Take care.